Hi, I'm Jon Atack,
I'm Sam Atack.
and we're going to talk about joy in life.
Yeah.
Now, I was very fortunate. I've been very fortunate all my life, frankly. I have wonderful children, 4 of them, which is more than you're meant to have, but how do you stop that?
A condom. For those that don't know.
Buy me and stop one. Stop me and buy one. Excuse me. Just have a little coughing fit here. Good, that's much better. I was extraordinarily lucky as a child because my mum was a wonderfully joyful person, and it's kind of paradoxical to look back because she lived a pretty stressful life with 4 children. She had an under 5-year-old for 17 years, and after my oldest brother Robin was born, she was told she mustn't have any more children. So then she had Andrew, next one down, the lovely brothers, and she was told, you really mustn't have any more children. So then she had my fantastic brother Jamie, and she was told, right, it'll kill you if you have another one. And 4.5 years later, she had me. So, which was lucky for me, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And so she was stressed. She worked really hard. Life was difficult, but she would have this sense of joy. Now, I'm going to differentiate this from hypermania or mania or things that are mad conditions, that she would just get excited about something. So, for example, every year, and she lived to be 94 years old, and I had the great privilege of looking after her during her final years. Every year in March, she would want the daffodils to come out before her birthday, which was the 11th of March. And she'd get excited. And when she got excited, she would dance the Gay Gordons, which is what most people call the Highland Fling, where you do this thing and go up on your toes.
How was she when she stopped doing this?
Well, she was still working on it in her 90s, that
yes.
She couldn't jump up in the aisle or do the whooping anymore, but you'd see the smile come over. This was a joy in life, so I presume that everybody had this.
Yep.
That, you're just as welcome to my love as the flowers is in spring, as Robert Johnson put it. That everybody had this fund of joy. So it surprised me to realise that very few people do. That most people are just going after the next little thrill, the next little pleasure, which is not the same thing. Should we get into James Joyce at this point?
If you want to, yeah.
No, I don't. No, okay. In the portrait of the artist as a young man, James Joyce talks about 3 forms of art. Do you remember the 3 forms of art?
Yes. Pornographic.
That is something that is appealing to you and you want to own. Anything that appeals to you, that attracts you, and you want to own, according to Joyce, is pornographic.
Didactic.
That's teacherly, something that's trying to teach you something. And that is repulsive art, stuff that you want to run away from,
Yes.
which I think, putting Maurizio Catalan on one side, who's absolutely
Yes.
lovely. Most conceptualists, for me, they're trying to teach me something, but unfortunately, they are half-wits, so they have very little to teach. Tracy Emin did a project for teenagers about how bad alcohol is for you. And the first time I ever saw Tracy Emin was on a television show called After Dark, which ran into the early hours, and she was drunk. It's a letter, nice. It's a word beginning with P. And she was so drunk, she fell over as she was leaving the set. So it's like, well, just show them film of yourself.
Yes,
as a woman, and they'll realise it's not a good idea.
It's actually quite a good method for teaching kids.
John Gottman, the wonderful, brilliant psychologist, puts exactly that method forward, that you teach children by saying, yeah, I screwed up that way too when I was a kid, rather than taking the high ground and pretending that you're always saintly and perfect. So tell them about your youthful experiences and admit that, whatever it was, being an alcoholic didn't do you any good.
Yes.
Or as Ozzy puts it, don't do what I do, kids. You've seen what all the drugs and the booze has done to me.
Made me marry Sharon.
Now. Sharon's the best thing that ever happened to him.
So third one, what was it? Attractive? Can I just call it that?
No, attractive is pornographic.
Yeah.
Ooh,
The stonking.
It's lost. Stonking.
That's the
This
best
famous
word I've
Joycean
got.
word. Yeah.
What was the one he used?
Transcendent.
Yeah.
And this is art that transfixes you, that makes you just feel great. This is joy in life. Now, this seems to me to be missing from most art, because it's about, telling you what's in the Bible. That was the big thing about art. Then it's about the people at the side of the paintings doing this, the patrons who paid for it, gradually pushing Jesus and the Virgin Mary out of the picture. And it's about them. Then it's about landscape, and I guess there's some beauty involved there. Then it's about what's called nature more, dead nature, or still life in English. So it's still life in English, it's dead nature, which is pictures of dead hares and rabbits and fish, but there's some paintings of flowers, and that's pretty good. However, the perception of beauty, when I was 13, I worked in a record store, and there aren't any records. There aren't many record stores left anymore. And for me, it was just this great thing that I would hear a piece of music. I remember the first Led Zeppelin album coming out at the beginning of 1969, and play it to people and turn them on to this wonderful thing. And it just seemed to me that life was about that, with poetry, with great novels, Dostoevsky, Aldous Huxley, what have you. That there were all these treasures in the world for us to appreciate, and that most people aren't actually being. Art appreciation is a very dull subject when I've encountered it. Getting somebody to actually realise that their tastes matter, that what they like is important. It's not a matter of somebody, a committee deciding what the great art is. What you think is the great art is the great art, because your taste is relevant. And to enjoy that, could be, it's always Artie Shaw. We always mention Artie Shaw at this point because Spike's pointed out we always mention Artie Shaw. It could be the great clarinetist Artie Shaw, Arturo Chauvinsky, to give him his original title. It could be Jimi Hendrix. It could be Eminem.
Be that very tall tree that's in the park near here.
There are two of them,
Yeah,
actually.
two of them.
Two very tall trees. The beauty of nature, the vastness, the thing that our friend Yuval's, he's quite big as well.
Yeah, he is.
2
He
meters,
definitely
6'6".
produces a sense of vastness in me.
Yeah. That it's being what Eric Fromm calls life affirming. It's actually, I was going to read Denise Levertov's poem "O Taste and See," but it rambles off into territory that I'm not completely sure about. It's referring to one of the Psalms. I think it's Psalm 34. I'm not familiar with. I looked it up, and I think it was 34. But she says the world is not enough in us. Oh, taste and see. And I think being able to actually enjoy the moment. Let's tell that story again. I was sat by the lake in which the three spires of the Gothic cathedral in Lichfield were reflected in the sunset, and I was walking by and just was transfixed. So I sat down, because that's a good idea when you're transfixed, because you might fall over otherwise. As Paul Clay said, all you need to understand a painting is a chair, because otherwise your feet will hurt. It takes time. I'm sat there looking at this gorgeous, resplendent sunset. Three spires of the Gothic Victorian cathedral. And this guy walks by walking his dog, and he stops for a moment and he looks and he says, "Oh, that's so lovely. It would make a wonderful postcard." So what I'm advocating is, rather than having a Kodak moment, remember Kodak? They're all gone now. The Kodiak bears we still have, but Kodak cameras are gone. But those, make some memories by taking photos and selfies. Actually be where you are. Actually experience what's happening. Look at some great art. We said look at some Kandinskis. Look at some Rembrandts. Some Monet. Some of the good stuff. And enjoy it, because I think that's probably, as much as I'm a follower of Epicurus and Epictetus, the Epicurean way of life and the Stoic way of life married together, which are found, of course, in
Zhang Lao Taoism.
Changlao Taoism, which is the teachings of Zhengzi and Lao Tzu. And for anybody who's got a few dollars to spare, go and buy a copy of my Tao Te Ching. It's got lots of joyful, wonderful stuff in it, and it's very short, and which I'm not.
I'm very poetic
quite
too,
tall.
which I quite like.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
We like a bit of poetry. There is actually a video about it, and I found it very useful in recovering from Scientology. But as we're not going to say anything about that here, we better just move on. But live a joyful life, live an affirmative life, and be grateful for what you've got, and be happy with what you have to be happy with, in the words of King Crimson.
Oh, and tell us some of the transcendental experiences you may have had.
Transcendent.
Sorry, not transcendental. There you go.
It would do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go in the comments and tell us about beautiful things that you experienced. That would be fantastic. What a good idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm Jon Atack.
I'm Sam Atack.
And we wish you joy. Hi, Jon here. Thanks for watching. We'd appreciate it very much if you would click like, as well as subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Every dollar helps, and we welcome new patrons on Patreon, or you can make a one-off payment with any currency through PayPal. Thanks so much. Good, that's much better.